I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Stacey Zimmerman.
Account management is limiting. It's partnership, it's engagement, it's all sorts of words that mean a lot of everything and nothing. But I really do believe it's in the business of building relationships, and that applies, helping clients build relationships with their customers.
Stacey Zimmerman serves as managing director at Big Spaceship, where she focuses on deepening client relationships, growing the agency at large, and leading the account management discipline. Her passion lies in helping client partners who work collaboratively with their agency partners, underscoring how collaboration leads to the most impactful work. Nurturing diverse teams, Stacey also helps provide education and opportunities to aspiring talent by teaching advertising at both East and West Coast universities for the past decade and serving as an MAIP mentor. My interview with Stacey Zimmerman is coming right up, but first...
Hey, creators, podcasters, and brands, if you work on Instagram at all, you have to be tired of the limitations of link in bio. Well, there's a solution. Stampede.social is the ultimate Instagram tool that will change the way you engage with customers, fans, and followers. With Stampede.social, you go beyond a single bio link and instead slide into your fans' DMs. Fire off an automated direct link to wherever you want to send them straight from your posts and lives. This link is only sent to the fans who ask for it, so you'll know exactly who loves your content the most. And Stampede.social does so much more. It gives you back the power of knowing who is engaging with you. It makes it easy to engage with them using AI, and using Stampede.social gives you insights about how your Instagram profile is performing with super robust reports. Drive more clicks, more sales, more followers, and have more time to do what you really love, creating that amazing content. Join the ranks of the world's savviest Instagram creators who already trust Stampede.social. It's a true game changer and will transform the way you connect and engage with your Instagram fans forever. Just for you creators, use our limited time exclusive promo code MPN50. That's MPN50 and get 50% off any monthly or annual subscription tier at checkout. Are you ready to create a stampede of fans back to your content? Don't miss out on this special deal. Head over to Stampede.social. You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Seth Goldstein hosts a great podcast called Entrepreneur's Enigma. Seth, tell us what these fine folks will get when they listen.
They will get me introducing them to some great entrepreneurs who have either found their way through the journey of entrepreneurship or who are entering entrepreneurship and can share their experiences.
Amazing. Where can people subscribe?
They can subscribe over at entrepreneursenigma.com. They can go over to marketingpodcasts.net, or they can just go to their directory of choice. I'm in there, and if I'm not, email me.
Awesome. You heard him, folks. Go subscribe.
Stacey, welcome to On Brand.
Hi, Nick. Thanks so much. It's great to meet you.
I am excited to chat. So tell me a bit about how one, here I am in the Midwest, just teaching at one university. How have you found your way to be bi-coastal when it comes to education?
It's a great question, Nick. I've had the opportunity to teach really as sort of adjunct, just a couple of opportunities on both East Coast and West Coast opportunities. I had some mentors and friends over the years who've asked me to come and guest lecture, and I've gotten to do that for the past couple of years. And I just love it. Teaching is something that I ultimately would love to do a lot more of. And it's been so much fun just to answer questions, and I learn so much from the students as well.
I love it. And, I also think this, talked about teaching advertising. I think that topic especially is one that is pretty challenging these days. So where do you jump off in trying to teach about something at really a moment where it is changing a great deal?
There's so much that is changing. You're absolutely right. But I think the core fundamentals and really where my focus area is in relationship building and building relationships with internal teams, with clients. And ultimately, the work that we're doing is building relationships with customers and potential customers, future employees of the companies. So there are certain truths that I think are always present. And then the context around it changes quite a bit. So I try to keep up and, teach whatever is the latest or examples of what's going on with brands. But I really do believe the core of relationship building, which again is sort of my sweet spot and where I focus my career, that is sort of omnipresent, and the truths there just remain.
So, say more about a relationship building focus. It could sound a little glib for me to say, but I feel like we are so focused on, and it's even where I jumped in on the changing landscape of media. But talk about coming at this from that relationship perspective.
Yeah, it is. It's the challenges are real, whether they're on the agency side or the client side. So I think an approach really is just to level the playing fields with. We're all facing very similar challenges. But I do believe that one of the best things about partnering with an agency is an outside perspective. It's really my job to understand my clients or my partner's business as well as they can, but I'll never know it in the same way as they feel it walking inside the halls. And at the same time, I can offer perspective from the outside that they may not be aware of, or a challenge that we're facing on another client that may apply really directly to that client, or some learnings that we've had. So the relationships that I've built have really just been to help kind of smooth that, to let them know that we're all in it together. And ultimately, their success is my success. And so we're all very, very much working together. But I think in that translation and then that perspective from the outside and sort of finger on the pulse in a slightly different way than those who are inside the hallway, that's where we can really help build those relationships in a strong way. And I will say it's friendships at the end of the day too. I've always sort of bristled at that notion that, oh, it's business, it's not personal, but business is so personal, right? We're all
Absolutely.
humans. We deal with the same challenges, and I love nothing more than when a client will call me and say, I'm preparing this big presentation for my boss or for the board or something. Can I run it by you? Can you pressure test it for me? Those are some of my favorite conversations.
So you talk about building those deep relationships and the importance of perspective and being that set of eyes. How do you I don't know exactly the right way to phrase it, but how do you keep that perspective as you uh, get closer through the years? Does that go away? Are there things that marketers can do to both foster that kind of valuable closeness that you're talking about, but also keep that external set of eyes?
So much of that comes down to trust. And I do think that is building the relationship on a personal level. So you're right. It's hard to keep perspective sometimes as close as you get to a person. And at the same time, whether it's with my internal teams or with external partners or external clients, I want to know what motivates them, what excites them, what are they interested in? And that helps build into that perspective. Because as much as I care about them as a human, I care about the business, I care about the relationship, I care about the success of all of the work that we're doing together. So try to use kind of how do we take those personal elements, and it's even down to, actually, when I think about it, communication style. There are some clients that just want a text. They want a quick, hey, what's going on? There's some that, hey, I need a little more polished. I need something that I need is ready for me to take to my boss for approval. So I think really understanding folks on a personal level, that helps us add the extra layer of that perspective of what I'm hearing internally. And I think that's a core role of account management. It's something that we foster at Big Spaceship, to say, like, really look around the corner. What can we predict and see that maybe would make someone's day a little bit easier or make an argument a little bit stronger, and help arm our clients with that as well.
Well, when you talk about building those relationships, you touched on something that I think is really important too, because you talked about some people wanting to text, and I think sometimes we know how we like to communicate and what we don't like, but we don't always communicate that effectively to others. And I think too, understanding that with clients just is, that was a real big big light bulb for me when you said that, because I think that's an easy win that we potentially miss, because it feels elementary to say, how do you want me to
Mm-hmm.
reach out to you? How often do you want, do you love email, or is email the bane of your existence that you're constantly trying to escape from?
Mm-hmm. And it's so true, because very often we'll chat with our teams about, don't say what you want to say necessarily. Say it in the way that you need someone to hear it. And I think that takes a lot of self-awareness to understand that the first thought that comes to my mind, and honestly, that's personal and professional relationships. I think about that in my personal life as well, of, well, what I really want to say is this, but what I need that person to hear is this. And that applies to when we're presenting work. That applies to when we're discussing feedback with clients, negotiating a contract. Sometimes saying it in a different way and really understanding how someone else is going to hear something is the best way to communicate.
That is so true, but what you've just walked us, it's not easy
Mm-mm.
for whatever reason. And not only is it not easy, but it can potentially pay off big time. But it's a lot of hard work to put in. But again, I'm going to sound like a greeting card here. And you said you said just yourself a moment ago that these are both work relationships, and it applies to our work elsewhere as well, our relationships that we're building outside of all of that
Mhm.
is how we're connecting, and really thinking about that is so key. But it's homework, it's human homework that we don't always want to engage in.
Mhm. And particularly hard in Zoom world, right? I think that
Oh,
what we've been dealing with over the past several years has made that much harder. And to be honest with you, it's part of the journey. I moved to Seattle just a couple years ago in the middle of the pandemic, which a couple of years ago in the middle of the pandemic is a really funny thing to say out loud, that we've been in this for so long. But I was, Starbucks is an incredible partner of Big Spaceship and has been for the past 6 years. And one of the best parts of my job was getting to come out here monthly, spend time with our client partners, particularly because I was based in New York and we were spending a lot of time on the phone, not as much on Zoom back then. But I got to come out and really spend time with folks. And it's something that I missed. When I switched to Zoom world, I'm a relationship, kind of walk the halls, make friends with people, talk
hmm.
to people person. And all of a sudden I was doing that on a screen on the 41st floor in Brooklyn. And it was just, I had to think differently. You're exactly right. How do we keep building that? And I did move out here in part personal, part professional. And I work from Starbucks office one day a week. And I'm so delighted that they'll have me too. And I think the best compliment I got recently, I was chatting with Brady Brewer, who's the CMO of Starbucks, and he goes, "I forget sometimes that you don't work here." That I'm there, that I'm a partner, but I just feel so fortunate to work with partners who will welcome me in that way, and that I get the chance to reestablish connections and get to chat with folks in person, because it does make such a difference to get to know someone.
You've mentioned specifically account management, and in talking about that and thinking about that, I know again something else that I've got all the glib comments here for the evening, but it sounds it's so obvious. But what have you cited as being a big change in account management over these past few very changing years?
hmm I think it's a little bit also in just the titling of what we call it, right?
Yeah.
Account management is limiting. It's partnership, it's engagement, it's all sorts of words that mean a lot of everything and nothing. But I really do believe it's in the business of building relationships, and that applies helping clients build relationships with their customers, me building relationships with internal teams and partners and production partners, external partners, media agencies, PR firms, and our clients as well. So it's client partnership in a way, and it's one of those questions that swirled around, like, do we update the name of our discipline? We call them disciplines, not departments at Big Spaceship. And part of that is, yeah, account management is not really just what it is or what it used to be, perhaps. But client partnership, it's so much more than that too. So it's really one of those questions that I've been swirling around, but it's everything. It's really in the business of listening and asking questions and getting to know people on a personal level. Because I also think the reality is work is a huge part of our lives, a huge part of our day, but there are other factors at play. And even something as simple as remembering someone's birthday or congratulating them when they've been promoted or saying, oh, you're going on a vacation to this place, I have a suggestion. It's all those little things that make the work easier because you've gotten to know someone as a human. And then you can also be honest. If I'd have a moment before where I've said, you know what, I'm feeling a little off. Do you mind if we push this, half an hour? And I just even think that level of honesty, particularly to your question of in this world, how things have changed, I think that's changed as well. There's a little bit less, it's not less polish, but just a little less fear of being human, perhaps, because there's so much that everybody's dealing with, and we should just acknowledge that.
On Brand will be right back after this. Support for On Brand and all shows on the Marketing Podcast Network is provided by ActiveCampaign. With ActiveCampaign, you can create and send email campaigns, manage your leads and customers, create landing pages, set up automated workflows, and track your results all in one approachable platform. It's no wonder ActiveCampaign has over 185,000 happy customers across the globe, such as the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. They integrate Salesforce with ActiveCampaign to automate a thank you email to all those who visit the museum, and in doing so, share a form to gather their feedback. That then automatically triggers follow-up messages based on the feedback they receive, including returning to the museum for another visit. For a limited time, ActiveCampaign is offering on-brand listeners a chance to double your contacts for free when you sign up at activecampaign.com/activate. That means if your email list has 10,000 contacts, you only need to pay for 5,000. Or you can pay for the 10,000 and get an extra 10,000 contacts totally free. Go to activecampaign.com/activate to sign up today. That's activecampaign.com/activate. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, creators, podcasters, and brands, if you work on Instagram at all, you have to be tired of the limitations of link in bio. Well, there's a solution. Stampede.social is the ultimate Instagram tool that will change the way you engage with customers, fans, and followers. With Stampede.social, you go beyond a single bio link and instead slide into your fans' DMs. Fire off an automated direct link to wherever you want to send them straight from your posts and lives. This link is only sent to the fans who ask for it, so you'll know exactly who loves your content the most. And Stampede.social does so much more. It gives you back the power of knowing who is engaging with you. It makes it easy to engage with them using AI, and using Stampede.social gives you insights about how your Instagram profile is performing with super robust reports. Drive more clicks, more sales, more followers, and have more time to do what you really love, creating that amazing content. Join the ranks of the world's savviest Instagram creators who already trust Stampede.social. It's a true game changer and will transform the way you connect and engage with your Instagram fans forever. Just for you creators, use our limited time exclusive promo code MPN50. That's MPN50 and get 50% off any monthly or annual subscription tier at checkout. Are you ready to create a stampede of fans back to your content? Don't miss out on this special deal. Head over to Stampede.social.
Now, back to the show. I didn't come into this conversation thinking that we needed a new label for account management, but now that you've, it's kind of like when you take everything out of the closet and you get everything, you get the whole mess out on the bed. Now it's like, oh, we have to organize this now. But like you said, I don't know what you call it, but it does seem like a call for something different, because I think the words that we use to organize around internally, externally, express some of that intentionality of what it is we're trying to do and what we believe in and what we value that could help move people towards the space of being able to. I love the example of, I'm not feeling it right now. That's really something bigger, stronger, and ultimately very different. But yeah, I don't know what one would call that discipline.
That will be my homework and has been for quite some time. So when we figure it out, I will let you know. But another part of it too is I spoke about this recently with someone that my favorite phone calls are the ones from clients that start with, I have no idea what this looks like, but. And I think part of it, whether it's pitching or the RFP process or writing a scope, we have to put deliverables to something, right? Budget is assigned to deliverables. I need this many of this, or I need a strategy by this date. But sometimes it's just a challenge. It's a question. And I love those conversations where it's, how can we figure it out together? Yes, it will get tied to something down the line, but that to me is the true testament of partnership and relationship to say, I don't have it all figured out, Stacey, but you are a partner and your team is a partner. And perhaps could we figure it out together and then write the documentation after? I love those.
I have to imagine that I'm not the only person listening to you right now, nodding along at the I have no idea what this looks like, but because I'm sure someone listening has heard it this week, has heard it today, will hear it when they're done listening to the podcast. And I mean, that's the daunting part of kind of the weird brain of agency people, that we have to take that and do, like you said, put some deliverables to it, but kind of make something that comes in as I always think of it like as someone coming into a doctor's office or an ER of what someone's presenting with, and that a lot of times there's something else that you have to find behind that. But that's also not an easy skill set to nurture in people either.
It's true. And the just being kind and human and having those types of conversations to develop that trust. I think, that conversation doesn't happen on day one. And so we talk about it even with our account management team. And now every time I say it out loud, I'm go, I want to call it something else. When I talk about it with the team internally, we talk about how do you start to nurture that? And I say, well, when you're meeting someone new, when you're out chatting with a friend, when you're reconnecting with an old colleague, there's similar conversations and there's similar ways to just help someone feel good that it's okay that you don't know it. I know you're my client, but I don't expect you to have all the answers. That's why I'm here to help you figure that out.
So I love that you said that that's not a conversation that happens on day one of a relationship, and it almost seems like for as challenging as that question, that intro can be, that's also kind of a powerful example of where you stand with a client. It almost seems like we'd want to work on building relationships where someone does feel comfortable at approaching us with that. What are some of the keys in building client partner trust?
One of the things we are trying to do is right off the bat, try to meet a little bit in person and do some meet and greets with, I would say, a loose agenda, but not necessarily a script or a PowerPoint or anything like that. I think sometimes the slides, the presentations or discussions that are minus slides are the better ones, right? We try to foster questions. And it's one of those things also we noticed, even as we present ourselves as an agency, it was very different when you're in the room and you get to read some body language and get to chat with folks for the very first time versus Zoom screens. And different organizations have different cultures of camera on, camera off. Some kind of want to pipe in and chat throughout, and some want to stay quiet until the end. I think it's understanding, maybe having a few chats before you get into the big chat to say, kind of, what's the temperature of the company right now? What's going on? Are folks exhausted of being on Zoom? The last thing I want to do is add another one. Could we fly a couple of folks out if they're comfortable and have a coffee or tour your facility or see about your latest, whatever it is that's going on? Or maybe we need to get outside the walls and just go do something together somewhere else. And so it's trying to also take a pulse on what are the humans that we're chatting with craving, where are they going to thrive the most, and what's going to lead to the most productive conversation and relationship, because you don't have to accomplish it all in the first one. We might label it the kickoff meeting, but it might be the pre-meet, right? It might be just the first chat, let's have a coffee together at 10 a.m. on a Zoom and talk about nothing. That's okay.
Well, and again, that's another great example of getting back to why what we call stuff matters. Because when when we endow it with the urgency, the stakes of labeling it as a kickoff meeting, that can feel big and daunting. And it can also feel like a thing that, oh, we better go make a 50 slide deck for.
Right.
And yeah, I think the other big thing as we talk about the labels for, you're really zeroing in on that being a conversation versus a presentation. And there's
Right.
the slide no slide part of that. Plus there's just the back and forth, the dynamic that sets up going out of the gate is different and in a good way too, for laying that foundation.
That's right. And the relationships are enduring. So often something feels it's so important. This today's most important thing, and I need to accomplish that. But the relationship you're building and the conversation you're having with that person, that will endure. I've gone to clients' weddings, and it feels weird to me even to call them clients. That's how the relationship started, but they've really become friends. And I'll read people's resumes later in life or pressure test, or they'll say, what was that thing that we talked about in the meeting that was difficult and how did it resolve? And I want to apply some learnings forward. The relationships that we're building are beyond even what's 2 feet in front of us today. So we always have to treat each other with that sort of kindness and respect, and also be smart and respectfully challenge each other, and just ultimately that makes the work better. And to the point of that first conversation, it's the same way with the work that we're chatting with potential customers for, right? You may not sell someone on that first marketing interaction, but what is the longer story you want to tell? What's the relationship you want to build? So I think there's so many parallels between the way that we treat each other and have these conversations, and ultimately the work that we're doing and putting out in the world.
That is so important. And in talking about that, you talk about addressing challenges. And in thinking about that, as you work closely with client partners in this very different landscape, how are you approaching planning for what's ultimately kind of continuing to be a wobbly path forward?
Yeah, and that's on so many levels, right? It's
Yeah.
wobbly path forward of what is their business doing, from the
Yeah.
supply chain challenges that happened during the pandemic to the changing attitude of the world, and also where is technology going? That question has so many layers to it. I wish I
Yeah.
had the crystal ball in front of me, because then I would
Oh,
really
shoot.
unlock all the answers. um, but that, I think it's in constant conversation too, and also um, setting up a process of imperfection and saying we reserve the right to update this and talk about it. And that applies on the
Yeah.
client side as well. It's okay to say we're wrong or we've changed our mind. I mean, so often it's as simple as we wrote a tagline, everyone got excited about it. Oh, it's being used by someone over there, right? It could be as simple as that. Or it could be as big as, hey, this product we've been working on launching, we're actually not quite ready to launch it. And by the time we do, the landscape will have changed. So I think it's just setting up a flexible nature together, saying that we're going to collectively tackle challenges. And I will say that even happened in the partnership that we have with Starbucks. Again, I spend a lot of time with them, so they're very much top of mind for me. But when the pandemic hit, we were in the thick of preparing for all these wonderful summer drinks that we were going to share out in the world. And then I went, hold on, how do we work together to change? And I think that's testament very much to their partnership and our work together to say, we need to stop for a second and figure out what is the best way to communicate with the world. And I think that helps to keep them an enduring, beloved brand, because they do pay really close attention to what's happening, and adjusting the work that we do together as a result of that.
That's such a good point, and a much better answer than my wobbly question
It's wobbly. It
deserved.
is.
But you've certainly made me smile a lot during our conversation, and now it is my privilege to ask you, Stacey, for a brand that has made you smile recently.
So I have two examples I'd love to give. First, I just have to give some kudos to the Barbie marketing team. It is absolutely everywhere, and I'm not sick of it. I am so excited to hopefully go see the movie this weekend at some point. But I think they've done a really wonderful job of creating partnerships, of Barbie kind of showing up everywhere in a way that I don't want less of, I want more of. So they've done just a great job of authentically connecting. But the big one that's top of mind for me right now is there was an ad from Orange was the brand, which we don't have here, but it was the sort of AI generated women's soccer spot where they kind of subbed in male soccer players, and it had the reveal at the end that they actually were female players. And I'm just really excited for all the marketing going into the Women's World Cup right now. And that example was a fantastic one of combining tech with a really top of mind topic right now and encouraging viewership and support of women's sports. So that has really made me smile this week.
That is a great smile, and I can report that I saw Barbie yesterday, and you will not be disappointed.
I can't wait.
Stacey, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So for more information on the work we've done, you can head to bigspaceship.com. Would love to see you over there.
Awesome. And we'll link up to that in our show notes, which folks can always find at onbrandpodcast.com. Stacey Zimmerman, thanks for being on brand with us.
Thank you very much.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.